Okay, so you want to go over the numbers on how investors get paid, how a deal looks with paying people out. Is that right?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Um, so the typical, I'm going to share my screen. Can you see my Excel spreadsheet or no?
Yeah.
Okay. So the typical thing that every multifamily person does is their 8% preferred return, right? And then
Mm-hmm.
17% IRR upon sale. But let's stick with a minimum of a 10% return for our deals.
Okay.
Now, granted, if you find investors that are super thrilled with just 8%, and that's like they don't want any upside, they're happy 8%, and there's plenty of them out there, then you can structure your deal with Class A and Class B investors. So, what I mean by that is um, you can have somebody that essentially just gives you a loan at 8% flat. They don't get any upside.
Okay.
Okay. And it could
Mm-hmm.
be 8%, 9%, 10%. And I know I'm throwing an extra variable in here, but um, so you can have, some wealthier old person that's like, listen, I just want 8%. Like, I don't care about the
Right.
rest. I don't care about the upside. I don't want risk and I want 8%. So you can have a preferred 8% return or a guaranteed 8% return. The difference is if it's preferred, they get the first 8%. The limited partner gets 8% before the general partner, you, gets anything.
Right.
So it's great because investors get their money first. If it's a guaranteed 8%, no matter what, you're paying them 8%. Right. So difference between
Mm-hmm.
preferred and guaranteed. Um, so then there's the split, the 70-30 split. That's typical. So let's
Mm-hmm.
let's do that. Let's do the $100,000 investor. And let's do the deal for let's do a 3-year hold. 8% pref. No, we're gonna do 10. And then split. Here's where we can get creative. LPs and GPs. So the LPs can get, let's say, let's do a 50-50. No, let's keep it interesting. Let's do 60-40. Ah, okay, so in 3 years, you are paying this person how much in interest if they're getting a 10% pref per year.
What do you mean in interest?
So if investor A invests $100,000 every year for 3 years, they get $10,000, right? They're
Correct.
10% preferred,
They're 10%. Yep.
right? So let's so 3-year hold. Their 10% pref is going to be they get $10,000 per year, right?
Yep.
So now you've satisfied their why do they do this? You've satisfied their 10% preferred return.
Mm-hmm.
Now, let's say your total return is
Can we take our deal 17%?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So now, now let's look at our deal. Let's say it is what's the purchase price?
2.15.
All right, let's just do 2 million.
Okay.
All right, so $2 million purchase. Let's just do 20% down, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
So $400,000
Mm-hmm.
is what we have to raise. So now this investor is, let's do 400 here.
Mm,
What?
nothing. I'm following. I got it.
Okay, so $400,000. Each year we're paying $40,000. They're 10% pref. So now let's say we sell the deal for what? Well, let's also do this. So NOI every year would be what? You said
Sounds
17, you
cool.
said 17%,
Yeah.
right? So
Mhm.
so your NOI is $340,000 per year. Is that no, not NOI,
No,
your
that's
cash on cash.
yeah.
Okay. So your cash on cash is 68,000. Wait a minute. Sorry, 68,000. Whoa, wait a minute. 17%. Yeah. 68,000. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. All right. So $68,000. Now keep in mind each year we're paying out 40 of that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So at the end, now let's assume we sell this property for the exact same amount that we paid for it.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a win. It's just, let's say something went wrong and we didn't get any appreciation because we typically don't underwrite deals for appreciation,
Right.
right? Unless we know that we're forcing some value add.
Okay.
So this is going to be a worst case scenario. So each year there is $28,000 left over.
Yep.
So in the 3-year period, we're going to have, I should do this on here. So net profit, right? We will do now the net profit for the split is going to be applied 60/40. So 3 years. Sale price is $2 million. Now, over the 3 years, we've made a total profit of $84,000,
Mm-hmm.
right? So now the LP gets 60% of remaining profits. The GP gets 40% of this split. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So on this deal that you made no appreciation on, you walk away with 33,600. Your investors walk away with the $120,000 here, plus an extra 50,000 here,
Yep.
right? So now let's calculate their total return. So investors, um, investors total return of $170,000, but they put in 400,000, right? So we're going to take their total return divided by the amount they raised, 42%. But now we're going to divide that by 3 years. So they ended up making a 14% return, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what do we do here? We took a deal that makes 17% cash on cash. Right? Which, I mean, we can find those all day long.
Right.
And we have no upside, no appreciation. But we also have no additional unintended expenses. That 17% pro forma is truly what occurred throughout the life of those 3 years.
Yeah.
We raised $400,000, so no money out of pocket. Our investors are very happy. They got their 10% per year. At the end of the day, there's $84,000 that gets split into the 60/40 GP-LP structure. Make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the day, the investors got not their 10%, but an annualized cash on cash return of 14.2%, or essentially IRR of 14%. Right?
Yep.
Now, if you want to do the split a little differently, let's say your investors are okay with a 50% split. Now they got a 13.5% return, and you got a $42,000 return. Right?
Now, question.
Mm-hmm.
On that net profit dollars that are left over at end of the year. If you were to, are you required to split those every year?
No.
Or is that end of the term?
End of the term.
Okay.
You're required, so to speak, to give them their 10%, right? Now, again, there's that difference between guaranteed return or preferred return.
Okay.
So how does this apply to this example? If it's a guaranteed return, you're giving them $40,000, whether it's from this property or out of your pocket.
Got it.
Now, the way a lot of these PPMs are written, they're so one-sided that often, if the property's not producing, that guaranteed return could be delayed, but no matter what, they still are owed that return.
Got it.
Okay. Preferred return is, hey, as long as we have profit, you get the first 10%.
Okay.
But if the first year was a little rough, you know, whatever, you're not going to get the 8% or 10% pref this year. But
Okay.
at some point, when you realize profits, whether it's upon sale or year 2, 3, 4, that investor still gets the first 10% being the preferred return. They
Okay.
get preference over anybody else,
Okay.
right?
Now, on that net split, right? Can you take that, keep that, since we're not required to pay that out every year, keep it to either do, some type of a build out to bring in a new client to increase that value at end year end three when we're getting ready to sell that to bring that value to, let's say, 2.2. Does that make it a better number? If you were to
Um,
remove that 84K, right? And then change because you took that money and gave it to whoever's gonna occupy a space in there to do a build out. And
yes.
now you're selling that sale price of, instead of 2 million, you're gonna sell it now at 2.2, let's say.
Yeah, absolutely. So that money is at your discretion. If it's better used for a tenant build out, yes, do that. You're not required to put that money aside by any means, right?
Right,
You want to maximize returns for your investors at the end. You don't want to you don't want to trip over dollars to chase nickels,
right.
right? So if that money is better served in improving the property, putting a new roof on, doing a tenant build out, then by all means, yes, you should spend the money,
Okay.
right? Now, again, keep in mind, this is a horrible deal in that we have no appreciation.
I rather look at it that way, right?
I
Because
would too.
again,
Yeah,
I am more of, if I'm taking somebody else's money, I'm more stressed about taking somebody else's money than my own money because I feel like I need to pay that back, right? Not
100%.
pay back, but I need to give them what they put into this, right? Or what they're expecting out of it. So I have first priority of my investors or anybody that is partnering with me. That's how I look at it. Is if I don't make it, it's not a, I can live with that. I
Right.
can't live with somebody losing somebody else's money.
Yep, I agree. And again, that's why we should always underwrite selling at the same price unless we know that we're adding value,
Okay.
right? So we don't bank on lease ups. You can underwrite for it, but typically it should be done in due diligence. So, for example, the strip that we bought had 2 vacancies. We can't do the pro forma as if we'll hope for the best and we'll just write that we've got the place 100% leased. No, so we had those LOIs in due diligence so we can
Mhm.
underwrite for that, right?
Yeah. Yep.
But you never want to take a strip that's 80% occupied and then do your pro forma
At
and
a
write
hundred
down,
percent.
yeah, at 100%, do your NOI numbers at 100% because so many things can go wrong. You do
Yeah,
your pro
you're right.
forma at today's numbers, and if in due diligence you're able to sign a new lease or get an LOI, great. You can pad your number a little bit, but you don't really bank on it until the leases are signed.
Okay, what about if you're looking at a building that is 100% occupied? Now, what percentage do you write your deal at to bring it down of seeing vacancies?
I would do a 10% vacancy,
Okay.
but I want you to think about this deal a little bit more. This is a $2 million deal that's got a 17% cash on cash, no upside, right?
I mean, there are some 5 office spaces in there that are vacant, which generate $300 a month.
No,
It's
no,
only
no, no, no. Sorry.
$1,500.
Not your specific deal. I want you just to look at these numbers.
Oh, got it. Okay.
Now, we underwrote a $2 million deal.
Mm-hmm.
Investors got 13.5%. We got $42,000,
Mm-hmm.
right? So,
Yep.
what if this was a $10 million deal, a $20 million deal, right?
Yeah,
Now you've made 420,000. Make sense?
makes sense. So
Yeah,
it makes sense to not, to be honest, of what the mindset has been is to look at smaller deals or look at, under a certain price range. And that I think also comes out of fear of, one of the fear is losing my investor money because not the confident level, the fact that, what, I needed to test the waters of how this really worked with the least amount of loss if there was going to be a loss on any of this.
correct. Yeah. So when you see those giant strip malls that are very, very stabilized, high demographics, high traffic count, that's essentially this deal times 10,
Right.
right? The returns are
Yeah.
much lower, um, but they're parking money. And a lot of those, you're not going to make 17% cash on cash. It's going to be much lower.
Right. So when you get investors on those type of deals that have stability, what are they, what do you see investors looking to get out of those deals? What
So that's going to
percentage?
be an 8% pref.
Okay. And on our end, what kind of percentage are we looking at that we should be at if we're looking at larger, anywhere from $5 to $10 million deals?
Um, Again, it's figuring out the comfort level of your investors, figuring out their risk appetite. So
Mm-hmm.
investors in those types of deals may be happy with a 10% total return, right? So
Right.
in which case here, you can do 30/70. So now the investors are getting 10.7% and you're making $75,000 on a $2 million deal. On a $20 million deal, you're making 750,000.
Awesome.
But listen, a lot of investors are very happy with 10.7% annualized,
Right.
right? I've got a 1030 that when they call, I'm going to have to run.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And does this clear things up?
Yeah, it does. I just wanted to kind of see the numbers on where we land. I get it, getting investor money in, and what do we get out of it of putting all the work into this is what I wanted to kind of really look at on.
Yeah, I'll email this to you. But in addition to these numbers, there's often a management fee that you get to take 6%,
Mhm.
and that comes off of revenue, not
Okay.
cash on cash. That comes off revenue.
So that management fee, you take 6%, is that on top of the person who's already managing it?
You have to be fair about that. So if you have a management company,
Hmm.
you may be able to take 1 or 2 points on top of that, but
Okay.
it's not fair to take 6% and then give a management company another 6%,
Got it. Okay.
right? Um, it's commensurate with how much effort you have to put in. It's paying you for your time,
Right.
right? And there's a fair amount of time that goes into managing all of this.
Hmm.
Less so if it is a management company.
Right.
Make sense?
Makes sense.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll email this to you and I'll put this in the mastermind as well.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right. Have a good day.
Bye.